everyone, and welcome to today's art stream. Hopefully everything is working as it should be. Looks like it is. Fingers crossed. Yeah, the music is very relaxing. But anyway, I hope everyone is having a lovely week so far. And yeah, today, bit of a break from the norm. We're going to be working on I'm going to be doing some art of my OC. Purely because a lot of my workload is under NDAs right now, so I can't do it on stream. So I figured, what better time than to work on my own character for a change. So yeah, a lot of you may have seen the one on the left already. Finished that last night? Yeah, it was yesterday I uploaded that, I think. I'm pretty sure it was, anyway. Forgive me, I literally just washed my hair, so it's doing whatever the hell it wants right now. Oh no, I'm sorry, Nella, Telayal, so sorry for messing that up. Yeah, that was me last week. Last week I kind of struggled. This week's gone better, mostly because impulse purchases I bought several months ago arrived today. So it's like when you back a Kickstarter and you forget you've done it, and then it's like you've bought yourself a future present. Now, okay, I'll remember that. I'll make sure I get that right next time. But yeah, so I've got D&D tonight. I'm going to be playing Riza later this evening. So I thought, yeah, today I will work on this little bit of what I wanted to do here. Originally, it was just going to be like a single panel. I wanted to draw Riza looking kind of scary. And I thought, why not kind of make a little bit more of it? Why not make this into like a little tiny 3-panel comic based on a really cool scene from our game last week? So today I'm basically just going to be colouring the image on the right. I've got this one still up on the left because it's useful to reference for colours. And yeah, so I've already basically just merged that together, so I don't actually need this anymore. This was what I was using yesterday to get my colours right. Every time I draw her colours get a tiny bit more saturated, which is a lot of fun. She gets a little bit brighter as the story goes on. Anyway, I can actually get rid of that now. Don't need that anymore. So I'm going to make a new layer. I'm just going to call this lines. And this is a style I don't often do on stream. The style I use for this picture on the left. If you zoom in, you can tell that the line art, or indeed lack of line art, basically what I do with this style is I don't really refine line art. I basically just create my sketch, and then I color directly underneath that and do a little bit of tidying up here and there. And it's a bit more of a loose, free-flowing style I use for my own characters because I don't really have enough time in the day to do a full, detailed, rendered style for my own characters, sad as it is. So instead, I kind of ended up just by chance developing this style for doing my own pieces, which is a little bit more fluid. Yeah. Anyway, we're just going to crack on. So, first of all, I'm going to put in her skin tones. What I might actually do is, you can kind of see the shape of her other horn up there, and I was thinking I didn't like its placement, but now I'm realizing that's not actually horn, that's part of her hair. You can tell I made this sketch a couple of days ago, and I'm only now working out what the hell I was doing. You can tell I don't really plan these things very thoroughly. But anyway, to start with, let's just whack down some base colours. Oh, Cyber Spectre, thank you so much. I'm excited to draw Riza on stream. I haven't painted enough of her on camera. And the nice thing about painting in this style is it's super relaxing. And it comes together quite quickly, so you probably will end up seeing quite a decent portion of the colouring process today. Oof, that sounds really, really rough. Yeah, UK, I know from my side, the UK can be super slow. But very best of luck, and I hope it manages to sort out for you now. I can't resist characters with strong green. I think almost all my characters are green to some extent. Even the one I painted the other day, my Eladrin, who's technically pink, is still a plant person, so they're kind of green. Yeah, see, that was the image. With this one, I wanted to do something looking spooky. So once the colours are done, I'm actually going to pick some adjustment layers over the top. I wanted to get the idea of her being not silhouetted from behind, but looking like she's probably about to kill a fool. Not that she actually did. Basically what happened last session was we were in Zadash, because our campaign is set in Wildmount, and we just got back to Zadash after going through this really nasty dungeon, fighting a load of oozes, all of that jazz. And then we get back to Zadash, we get paid for what we did, and we suddenly have loads of money, which is really exciting. So we decided to do what any responsible adventure party would do, which is to hit up all of the best bars and pubs in Zadash. So we were on our way to the more expensive part of town. Bear in mind, most of our characters are complete vagabonds or bumpkins from the countryside. My character is actually from Zadash, but as a member of the Myriad and the Gentleman's entourage, not particularly wealthy. So we ran into a small group of kind of like young adult, late teens. Not really teens, no, they were kind of adults from the Soltris Academy, who were all like kids of various lords and nobles in the city, and like super bratty. And they'd come down into the poorer part of town because they were drunk, and they were throwing around fireballs and generally like setting fire to people's homes and gardens and stuff, and being awful and privileged and snotty. So we kind of scared the shit out of them. My character was super pissed because she basically grew up on the streets of Zadash, so has always kind of hated the super elites of the city. Kind of picked up a guy with her tail wrapped around his throat. As you can see, her tail is not very comfortable. And threatened him. And that was really fun. And then she crushed him to unconsciousness. Non-lethal. Non-lethal, most importantly. And then we did throw all of them down a well. And then the cleric did put up a spiritual guardians on top of the well, so if they climbed out in the next 8 hours, they'd get a bit of damage. So what I've learned from this campaign is we don't like rich kids. Oh, thank you so much, Nell, for the sub. That's incredibly kind. If you weren't on the Discord before, you certainly will be now. I'll just drop a link in chat. Boop. Yeah, I certainly have found that recently, especially I've been working on this big NDA project. I still can't talk about what it is, but it has made me push my boundaries a bit and paint things that I am not so used to painting, that I found very intimidating to start with when I started working on the project. It was very scary. But it's definitely been very good for giving me a lot of new things to work on. Oh yes, I'm sure they would. Yeah, Riza doesn't like the elite very much, especially in Zadash, because I don't know if those of you who are familiar with the setting, Zadash is basically divided into different wards, and the wealthy part of the city you can't even get in if you look poor, which is super rubbish. So we were trying to sneak in when we got into this fight, and decided that maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should lie low for a bit, considering we probably just majorly offended some people, some Cerberus Assembly people. So instead, Riza took them to her home, which is to say the evening nip. Oh, now that was you? Oh, okay. That's very weird. I don't know why. I mean, if that's for all your servers, I guess it must be on Discord's end. I've had that problem with a few people now, Discord being weird, and not letting people in. Usually it resolves itself, but it's a pain. I'm very sorry that that's messed up for you. Okay, I'm just gonna fill that in because I am lazy. don't know what we're going to do tonight. We literally just arrived at the gentleman's establishment, which, since this campaign is set 20 years after the, I believe, 20 years? Maybe more, after the event of, oh, Lokak, thank you so much. That's very kind. Yeah, our game is set 20 years after the events of, well, I say that. We don't know how Campaign 2 Critical Role is going to end, so, you know, the world might have ended in that version of the universe, but in our version of the universe, it's set a bit later, so the gentleman has actually retired, and there's a very cool crime boss lady now leading our branch of the Myriad in Zadash. But there's also, like, some conflict going on, because there are rival kind of factions springing up even within the Myriad. And it's very cool. It's very fun. Oh, I've got hiccups. Gosh, today's been such a rush. I did not expect my package from Arm Street to arrive today, so I was like, I have to try it on before the stream, but I also have to go and pick up our groceries. And I need to go and grab some more coat hangers, because I've got nowhere to hang this beautiful thing up and I don't want it to get crumpled. So, been on the go today. Oh, I don't know actually. My character probably would know. She's been in, how long has she been in the Myriad? She joined when she was about 16. So she has been there for about 4 years now. So I'm not sure, I'll have to ask my GM. I mean, I imagine he probably ended up with Ruby because they're adorable. Okay, just quickly filling in. And the nice thing again about this style is I'm not too precious about it. If I go over lines, it doesn't matter. Tidy up later. So you can be a lot more freeform with designing. And to be honest, almost all my sketches start off this way. And this is basically what all my sketches look like. Maybe a tiny bit more refined than some of my sketches, but yeah, it just gives you a bit more wiggle room to not have to be super close with line art and stuff. I mean, you can see how rough this hand is. Just kind of suggesting things rather than getting them perfect. See, I haven't played Untitled Chapter, but I've got to admit something here actually. I will confess, I haven't really watched / listened to almost any of Campaign 1. I kind of joined Critical Role fandom, like Campaign 2 had already been underway for a few months. And I found it hard to go back and watch Campaign 1 when obviously the production value and everything had changed so much. So I'm just going to enjoy the story and enjoy kind of the twists and turns of the story in the TV series when they eventually bring that out. It's going to be a lot of fun. Not worry too much. I've got enough to listen to. I'm almost up to date with High Rollers. I was up to date and now I haven't listened to the latest few episodes, so I'm super excited to get back up to date with those. Oh, Tieflings are the best for colourful characters and playing with colours. They are just my favourite for that. You can really come up with some super fun designs for Tieflings when it comes to colour palettes. In fact, I have a new Tiefling commission that I'm going to be getting started on this evening, which I'm very excited, because they just made me so dang happy. Yay, Tieflings. Yeah, I have realised now that a sizable portion of my identity and portfolio online is around Tieflings at this point. It's what I'm known most for painting at the end of the day, I think. Also, thank you so much to Camp Ashley 718, Lord Aelfric, and Cuban Moshpit for the follows. I hope you enjoy the stream today. And in fact, what you're seeing here is as I'm doing this coloring, this is literally exactly the same process I went through for colouring the piece on the left. Like I say, a bit more freeform, a bit looser, just like my hair right now. Ugh. It's gone all poofy since I washed it. Ugh. Yay, Ainasol, join me in the love of Tieflings. They make me so happy. And thank you so much, Jay Derek, for the subscription as well. That's amazing. Thank you so much. Subs make a massive difference to me. They may not feel like a lot, but they really do all pile together and help massively with like passive income when you're an artist. So thank you so much to all my wonderful subs. Okay, let's fill in this meaty tale. So the ideas I had when I was originally designing Riza, I knew that she was a Path of the Beast barbarian, What is going on up here? Oh, thank you so much, Lord Elfric. That's very, very kind. And wonderful. Yeah, commissions I am hoping to open. My hope is to open them at the end of April. It's really going to depend on how I'm waiting to hear some news on my NDA stuff, what their time schedule is. If they have turned around and decided that they have a much tighter schedule than I originally thought they did, or communication's been a bit sparse. In that case, then I will still open commissions, but I probably won't be able to start working on them fully until a bit later. But I will make sure people get slots and kind of sort out all the admin side of things around the end of April. I probably won't do as many slots as I did last time because it's taken me over 6 months to get through my last batch, and that's a bit much for me. It means people are left waiting for ages. So I'm probably going to take a smaller number, but open more frequently, if that makes sense. I'm still kind of getting the hang of it, and every time I open commissions, my following is completely changed, so the way it all works changes so much every time I open commissions. But that is the plan anyways. I might tidy up some of the line art around the tail. This isn't really a stinger, it's more like just a big old sharp blade at the end of her tail. She's got all these spines. My initial design inspirations when I was coming up with how her beast traits appeared is that she's very much inspired by manticores and chimeras. So she's got a very kind of lion aesthetic going on. You can't really see in these pictures, but her feet they're more digitigrade, kind of more like paws almost. They're like big lion-y dragon paws. She's got big claws on her feet, more like talons. And then when she's normal and not raging, her tail looks like this. It's got like a nice floofy lion-like end on it. And then when she rages, the beast subclass basically means that you can morph parts of your body. Like you can get Wolverine claws, you can get big old chunky teeth, or you can get a tail that deals a whopping D12 damage, which is interestingly piercing damage, rather than like bludgeoning or anything. Which is awesome, because it's like, how is the tail piercing? Have we got a Stegosaurus situation on our hands? So in the end, I kind of went with, I didn't want to do a traditional just scorpion tail. So I went with something a little bit more creepy. Beast Barbarian is such a fun class, yeah. Cool, okay, so that is all the skin basically filled in. Oh, there's a little bit more up here, there we go. And she's wearing the same outfit she's wearing on the left, so that will be the same thing. Cool, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shade the skin. So what I do first is I make sure that that little button there is clicked. It's the alpha channel lock. It means that anything we've already painted on is the only area where it will accept new paint. So I'm just going to introduce a slightly lighter tone top of her face, as it's ever so slightly more green. Same with the tops of her shoulders. And then what I'm going to do is start introducing a little bit of shading. I'm just going to zoom in to kind of use the same shade I've used here. Start with something quite delicate, and then we'll work our way up from there. So what I like to do is I like to start kind of with the eyes. I'll usually go underneath to the bottom eyelid. I'll kind of shadow in the corners on the tops, like so, and then cover the top eyelid too. And in this case, because we're looking up at her, there's quite a large gap between the eyebrow and the eye, so I'm just gonna make this shadow a little softer than I usually would for that reason. Taking back the dark tone to cover over the other eye, the other eyelid. And then I'm going to add some of this just under the lip as well. And finally, under the nose. Like so. Then we can take it into a few other places. I'm going to add some under the kind of chin and neck region. And thank you so much, After Dark Rolls, for the follow. You enjoy the stream and have a lovely afternoon. So, just adding that shadow in there. Again, the style is loose. We keep moving with it. We don't get too caught up about where we're putting things. We just enjoy it. So, next place, we're going to have some in the ear. Bit of shading in there. Like so. And then I'm going to grab a slightly darker shadow colour. I tend to do the face first because it's just nice to see a part of the image looking more finished. So I always kind of start by getting the face actually quite done. Quite done? What else am I talking about? Someone teach me grammar. Okay, let's do the inside of the ear, get a bit more dark tones in there. Oh, thank you so much, Rupert. Yeah, when I was first creating this character, I'd already made quite a few tieflings. This is certainly not my first tiefling rodeo. And I knew that I wanted to try and create a design that was fairly unique. Obviously, it's difficult. Almost nothing is unique when it comes to character design. You're usually at best kind of using a collection of inspirations that already exist. But I wanted to do something I hadn't seen very often, at the very least. Which is why I kind of came to doing a Venus comb style, like spines on her horns. And then completely by kind of coincidence, because I tend to visually design my characters before I know a lot about their backstories or what's actually going on with them. Completely by chance, my character ended up being a Levistus bloodline tiefling, which, if you kind of don't know the the deep dive D&D Devil's Lore, Levistus is one of the princes of the Hells, and he rules over the frozen realm of Stygia? I think it's Stygia. And his thing is basically it's an icy wilderness. It's unlike the other planes of hell. It's freezing cold, inhospitable, and icy. Whereas most of the demon planes, obviously, like the aesthetics all kind of red and heat, much more Montero, you know. Whereas his realm is freezy, and you know, super Sub-Zero. That's where like the ice devils come from. So her kind of tiefling natural abilities, rather than having like Hellish Rebuke, she can cast. She's like, I think it's the same abilities that Jester has actually. Actually no, it's not. Jester has Hellish Rebuke, but Jester also has resistance to cold rather than fire, which is interesting. But anyway, yeah, she can basically cast Armor of Agathis, Darkness, and Ray of Frost cantrip, instead of the normal tiefling abilities. And everything's much more kind of cold themed rather than a fiery, hellish theme, which is really fun to work with. But it meant that she ended up having a lot of kind of icy manifested powers, which was really cool and completely coincidental based on how I originally designed her. Wait, where is that? Oh, am I on current layer? Let's have a look. This is meant to be a light there. That's weird. Okay. Well, I'll just manually do it. So what's our problem here? We need this to be a bit lighter. Yeah, they're very kind of bony and spiny. Probably super uncomfortable to sleep on, but that's kind of all tieflings. We just kind of gloss over that because aesthetic is more important. I kind of like to imagine she only sleeps kind of like either on like 3 pillows or cushions all layered up, or on her side. There's no other way. And like hooded cloaks are just out of the question unless the hood is freaking huge. So basically what I'm doing here, I'm just adding some freeform highlights to the spines, just so they kind of stick out a bit more, they're nice and noticeable. Especially when we go and put some adjustment layers on to darken this down, because I want this scene to look like it's happening at night. Thank you so much to Lindsay Bacart for following. It's very, very kind. And also Tempest Summer. I missed you earlier. I'm so sorry. I miss a lot of things when I'm drawing. I just zone out. I'm going to readjust these again because my hair is once again super in my eyes. I'm desperate for a haircut. As I'm sure are many of us right now. Oh, Cuban Moshpit, thank you so much. Oh my god, Rebel, thank you so much for the sub-gifts in chat. That is so very kind. If you have received a sub-gift, you now have access to Discord. Super exciting, which I will drop in now. Enjoy it, and thank you so much, Rebel. Rebel, you're amazing. Also, thank you to, let's try and say this right, Appabinonino for following. I hope that was right. I'm so sorry if I messed it up. I'm doing my best. Alright, there are her horns. I'm gonna add a little bit more shape and detail to them because you do get to see more in the side view. And then that's slowly going to disappear into the dark green. Lovely. Let's just quickly save. Oh yeah, as far as I'm concerned, tieflings in terms of their needs and biology are basically identical to humans. It's kind of fun to play them like that, especially if they've been raised by human parents. But Rebel, thank you so much for joining me, and it was, as always, wonderful to have you here. But yeah, ASMR and tieflings just kind of sleep as normal. Tieflings definitely normal. ASMR can have kind of like visitations from their celestial guide. Tieflings don't have anything like that. They don't have a guide. Riza technically has a sort of spooky contact with someone who may or may not be a Levistus himself, because she picked up a cursed crown while we were in a dungeon because she is super wise and totally picked it up when as soon as she saw it because it looked shiny and cool. Yeah, so now she's got a direct line to Demon Father, so that's fun. She's got slightly kind of dark edges to her ears like that. Hey Stu, oh welcome. Oh Rebel, it's alright, it's hard, like even I struggle to tune into streams for like a whole 2 hours sometimes. It's a long one, it's a long time to be like sitting on the screen. Alright, let's colour in her lips. Her lips are slightly darker green than the rest of her. An ice nightmare would be so cool! Wow, I'm gonna have to mention that to my DM. Although, I'm pretty sure her animal handling is not good. Because she's a city girl. I'm sure the party druid could show her how to ride. Our party is such delicious chaos though, because aside from Riza, there is a wood elf druid who is also a werebear. There is another tiefling who is a bard, who is probably the scariest character in the group. He's very reminiscent of Double Trouble from She-Ra, and it's terrifying because he's got all the creepy enchantment spells that can mess with your brain. But Riza likes him because it's nice to see another tiefling, you know? Oh, Lizzo, thank you so much for the cheers. But yeah, so we've got another tiefling the tiefling bard. We have we have a cleric of Pelor who is just a human cleric. He's like an old dude who's ended up with us, and I feel so sorry for him. We have a human fighter who's doing her best, and we are very chaotic. Trying to be good people, sort of succeeding occasionally. Alright, what I'm gonna do, I'm just gonna add a few little bits of highlight, so especially like onto the nose. Like so there. A little bit on the lip there. Chin and on the forehead. I'm just gonna blend in some of these. In fact, this is a bit much. I might just make it a bit more minimal on the chin. Just so the whole face is slightly more green, because that works for me. Then I'm just going to pop in her pupils, which are, she's got amber kind of cat-like eyes. which when she is kind of not possessed, but when she's using this cursed crown that she found, that's like a cursed infernal crown, her eyes go icy blue because icy grandfather. Oh god, my hair is driving me insane. Alright, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back up to that overlines layer. I'm going to grab a smaller brush now. Put in the pupil. Again, it's very cat-like slitted pupil. And then we're going to grab some brighter amber to go around the bottom of the eye itself. Hey, Arrow Icebard, welcome to the stream. And thank you so much to Cheese Bee Sneeze for the follow. Hope you enjoy the stream. And I like to add a little bit of highlight on irises at the bottom. It kind of makes them look a little bit more imposing, like so. And then lastly, I'm just going to go grab a little kind of spot highlight, which is just going to go here. Just to give the eyes a little bit of glimmer. Oof. Right. And with that, I also might just put a little bit of a light greyish pink just to show the teeth. Whoops, I'm on the wrong layer for that. Just go back down here. There we go. See kind of the grin through the teeth. Hey, Liza, thank you so much. Oh. Yeah, that's the face mostly done. There's a few more things I want to do, such as popping in her eyebrows. And yep, she has bushy eyebrows because I like big eyebrows. And then what I'm also need to do is add in the face paint that she wears, which I believe last time I did it like this. I created a multiply layer. Multiply is how I often do painting and tattoos. I make their own layer and kind of, they just darken the skin underneath. There we go, and then I'm just going to erase that where it's kind of gone over other bits, and there. Yeah, that works for me. Merge that down. And then I'm just going to define her eyelashes a bit more, which means grabbing a really dark colour, jumping down to about 4, and just making sure her eyeliner is on point. Because I do want, I'm kind of planning to give this a bit more of a comic book aesthetic when it's done. There we go. Thank you so much, Alex Inferno. Nice, so that's basically the face done. As you can see, she's not blushing in this one. She's got a cute little blush going on there. So the next thing I'm going to paint is... Oh, well, technically I should really go ahead and finish the rest of her skin, shouldn't I? So let's start by adding some shadows. Whoops, don't need brush settings up. What am I doing? We are going to get naturally forming shadows, basically around from where her clothing is digging into her a little bit. It's just the way of it when you wear a tight sports bra type stuff. Her skin is slightly more kind of purpley under the arms there. As it kind of, you lose colour when you are in a more shadowy area like that. And then we're going to grab some proper shadows now. Just to define, not just muscles, but like the shapes of the flesh and everything. FJ, thank you so much, that's very kind. But before we shade too much anywhere else, I'm just going to put a tiny bit on this part of the shoulder just to give her a bit more muscle definition around there. Excellent, excellent. My Riza fanbase grows. She actually has her hands and her lower arms are a darker sort of turquoise teal than the rest of her skin. It's quite hard to tell on the other one, but you can see her arm is definitely darker than her face. As her skin just gradually kind of has a bit of a gradient to it. Her legs and feet are the same. Her feet are quite a lot darker than the rest of her kind of like skin higher up from that point. And then it's just kind of blends into the paler skin when you get to her upper arms and shoulders. Like that. Her tail is also much darker. Her tail starts fairly light, about here, and it very quickly becomes quite dark turquoise, dark, kind of more of a dusty teal color, similar to her horns actually. So we can just bring that darker color around and over the top. Wonderful, lovely. Okay, so with that, now we can shade. Now we know what those base shadow colors and kind of weight. I call it shadow weight almost. I suppose I should probably call it shadow intensity or something. We can, start to add some, again, basic shading. I'm not going overboard with complexity here. Because this is a much more fluid style, and I like to do this style because I can get a lot done in a short amount of time, and I can focus on just painting and practicing bits I enjoy, rather than getting super hung up on making everything perfect, if that makes sense. Alright, gonna have some shadows here for sure. Yeah, that's one of the things I enjoy most about them, especially when they added the different devilish bloodlines. There's just so much you can play with. And I love characters with more of like a water elemental focus than fire. I'm just like that. I love water as a theme and the ocean in my characters, which is why I do a lot of sea elves and water genasi. Just make sure that's highlighted properly up there. Time for abs. And yeah, so it's really fun to take those elements and just really run with them and have fun with very, very themed designs. Just give those abs just a little bit of definition. Not gonna go overboard, but she does have some abs on her. Tritons are amazing. I love Tritons. And yeah, like I say, Glacier Tiefling with necrotic elements, amazing. Perfect, wonderful. You just can't go wrong when you start kind of playing with it like that. Just add a couple of darker bits here and there. Okay, once again, hair needs to go behind the headphones. Glacier's very cool. Cool, okay, next up, now the skin is done. Ooh, I want to do her nails. Gotta do her nails. She has dark, kind of very rich, dark burgundy, purpley nails. That are basically claws because, again, aesthetic, we don't talk about how practical that is. Technically, one of her beast traits when she transforms can be big claws, which she has used a few times. A lot of people like to think it's, if you're min-maxing the subclass, it's the most effective beast trait to use. I think it's cool, but a lot of people play it incorrectly in that they think it gives you 4 attacks, because the ruling is when you make an attack, when you take the attack action, you get a extra kind of claw attack. You can go again. But that doesn't mean that on your end, when you've got your extra attack as a barbarian, it doesn't mean you can then do it a 4th time, if that makes sense, because it's different to the attack action. So a lot of people don't play it quite right. So in reality, you get 3 rolls of a d6 rather than 2 rolls of a d12. Which, depending on your rage bonuses and all the other stuff, can still clock out better. But I just like the aesthetic of a big ass punchy tail, so tail is her main thing she uses. Right, let's just put a little tiny bit of highlight on those nails because they're shiny. Tabaxi are really cute. I've never played one, but I kind of want to. I always, I have designs for the more bestial races, and then I always become a coward and don't play them. Like, I have a very feathered raptor-inspired Dragonborn I'd love to play, who I believe was a Storm Cleric when I first made them. Like, full-on, complete feathers. They were so much fun design. So I should really play them one day. I'm just going to add a bit of definition here to the fingers. She hasn't got, like, full-on paws. When she does have full transformation, it is a bit more like paws. She doesn't quite get toe beans, but she has toe beans on her feet, mind you. She has toe beans on her toes. But this character was most certainly a big inspiration for her was Kipo. If you haven't watched Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, I cannot recommend it enough. It is a wonderful series. Really, really cool. So I really recommend you check it out. But the main character from Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts was one of the primary inspirations for Riza. Awesome. So let's grab ourselves the hair color next. And Riza's hair is super cool. I've changed her hair color many times. Originally, her hair was a much more washed out, desaturated kind of color. It was like a much more browny color that graduated into sort of greeny brown at the bottom, like really washed out. And now it's like this rich purple that turns into turquoise, and I kind of love it. So basically we're just gonna go to the edges, kind of pull out the hard edges and use that as like a edge point for the hair. And do the same down here. Her hair is very long, goes all the way down her back. Usually she wears it kind of bound up in braids because you can probably imagine it would be a pain when you're fighting. But in this particular session we had just left the bathhouse in Zadash, so she was letting it dry and it went all poofy. And she was kind of also showing off for her crush as well. So the hair was down. And the important thing is to make sure that this loop is closed, because if we want to fill it, we need to make sure there's no big gaps. Okay, so that's that down there. Just make sure that meets up there. And just pop in some of these little extra bits. You can kind of see traces of where other sketches have been underneath. I did very poorly rubbed them out. Okay, let's do some filling. Nope, I clearly didn't close that after all. Where's that loop? Let's try that again. There we go. And then we can just fill in these nasty white lines the fill tool lovingly leaves for me. Do I want... Nah, filling that in. I think that's all the lines up top. Now let's do it down the bottom. There we go. And then comes the really fun part that I like doing best, which is to say working out the gradient. Wow, she really has rose quartz hair right now. And I can get behind that. So what we're going to do, we're going to tidy up some of my other stuff because I went badly over these lines. I say this style is loose and I don't need to get too hung up on detail, but there are times when you gotta tidy up. There we go, there's a slightly nicer looking shoulder there. Going back to that hair layer. Oh hey, Bootshammer1, welcome. Also, thank you to Project6260 and Project 626, of course, and Beluga358 for the follows. Alright, now we're going to paint in this graduation as the hair goes from burgundy to purple to blue. Well, in this frame, she kind of is about to kill the viewer, so if you are wanting to kind of know what's going on here, this is like a little, almost like doing a screen cap from our D&D game last week, where Riza kind of terrified the shit out of some young Soltros Academy students who were being butts in her neighborhood, which is unacceptable. Cool, so we just kind of roughly paint in this gradient change. As you can see, it's quite kind of rough all over the place. Doesn't need to be super clean. And then I'm just going to grab the lightest part down the bottom. It's actually quite kind of turquoisey. And then what I'm going to do, once that's all kind of roughly painted in the way I want it, is I'm going to grab a blur, and the whole thing becomes a nice smooth gradient for me. God, I do not like having anime character hair. Okay, so once I've done that, we want to actually shape the hair, give it some shape and volume. So a new layer goes above the gradient, and this is what I always do when I have hair that's a different color on top to at the bottom. Rather than manually have to kind of work that out, I will make a layer on top, very much like I do for clothes, set it to multiply, grab a pale purpley pink, a bit more purple than that, this will roughly do, and do I want to do that with this one? No, we're not going to fill it in, we're going to go reverse. What we're going to do is, with that color selected, and this is a special brush I use for rendering hair, I just start rendering out the shadows, which are going to occur usually in the edges. Fairly subtle here, but you see here it's a bit easier to kind of see what's going on. And it's very much a case of working out where shadows naturally are going to hang out. It's something that kind of you get quicker at the more you do it. You kind of start to learn the patterns of where shadows appear. It's one of those things that's very much practice and use reference and you'll get the hang of it, sitch, unfortunately. And yeah, we're just kind of rendering where our shadows and lights are in the hair. Over here, there's a lot of shadow because a lot of this hair is bundled behind and around the head. But as we work our way across, there's going to be more and more light elements. Oh, Heathjo, that's wonderful to hear. I'm really happy it was able to help you out. It's a really useful, for creating your own gradients and natural dark to lights and all that kind of stuff, it's a really useful tool. Nearly as useful as the multiply kind of layer for doing shadows and stuff, which is like one of my other favorite all-time tools. You can see the lines for this hair are super rough, so kind of using it as a guideline, not sticking to it all the time. But you can see how quickly the shape is kind of comes together when you're using this tool. Thank you so much, Michael Howe Arts. That's very, very kind. Yeah, these fur brushes are so good. I literally probably couldn't count the number of times I've recommended them now. It's the only brush I use for my painting, other than the normal hard round pressure size brush that comes with Photoshop. And I just use it whenever there is fur or hair, which is quite a lot because I paint mostly organic kind of character designs. It's just fun to use as well. It feels almost like I'm using a real paintbrush, which is great because like I say, I'm mostly trained. When I did actually get sort of training, I don't know if what they teach you at school kind of counts. Well, not art school. Like I mean, just at like sixth form or like secondary school. I'm not sure in this high school, I guess. I'm not sure if that counts as proper art training, but that's like when I was properly taught, and I was taught from a traditional art point of view. More shadow because this bit is under the arm, so it would be darker. Alright, so there's our first layer of shadows on the hair. So what I am going to do is I'm going to grab a slightly darker colour to add some slightly deeper shadows. And it's a very iterative process. You gradually build up the darkness and light and end up with something you like. You don't try and do it all at once. That's kind of, I mean, it works for some styles. I like to build things up gradually. It's another reason I always have my pen pressure linked to opacity, it means I can gradually build up tone with lighter brush strokes and heavier ones. A little bit more shadow coming where it tucks behind the arm there. Oh, thank you so much, Lezev, for the bits. Thank you for joining me for the stream, Lezev, and have a wonderful few days. I'll maybe see you on Friday. Alright, and then finally going back again behind the arm. Just to add the final kind of dark bits of shadow to these curls under here. Like so. And what you can do, because we've done all of our shading on a different layer, it's super fun to, basically you can mess with the tone. You can make the shadows themselves really colourful, or you can make them really grey. I like to keep it somewhere in the middle. My shadows are usually a sort of purple colour. It's just my preference. But what I'm going to do now, we're going to go back to that overlines layer. Actually, I'm going to make a new one, and I can always motion down, and we're just going to add some highlights to the hair to make it look extra fluffy and glossy. And thank you so much, Lezev, to the sub gift in chat. That is incredibly kind. Very, very kind. Thank you so much. And basically what I've done here, I've taken a lighter and slightly more saturated colour, and I'm using this to kind of add highlights to the hair on top of the line art, so it can start to obscure some of the messier line art parts that we've already done. And then as I go down, I'm gradually working my way from pink through purple and towards blue. Alright, so there is our purple, and then we go a bit lower, get a bit bluer. Like so. A little bit on these corners. We're going to get more blue at the edges. And then finally we're getting towards the light blue. It's going to start appearing around here, and then almost immediately we're going to jump onto the turquoise, so I need to really go and grab the light version. Here it is. Yeah, that's what I wanted. And then we can put some of that down here as well. You can kind of see how even with very messy and basic kind of line art guides underneath, you can kind of get quite a nice finished result. Like so. It's time I save again. And finally, I'm just going to add some loose strands. So I grab my usual brush, which is the hard round pressure size brush, and just do some little loose bits, which just kind of help the hair flow a bit better. So for example, do a bit there. We can do it like it there. But we'll probably have a bit up here. Just little edge pieces. Riza's hair is, after all, pretty messy, so it's not going to be perfect. And there we go. There's like a little bit of extra detail there. So there we kind of go. There's the face and hair done. You can see how quickly this style kind of comes together. So going back to the normal outlines, I'm just going to add in her earrings. She is wearing cute earrings because why not? I just like the triangles in her aesthetic, so. Because it's an opportunity to have fun with her design. So I'm just going to move this one on top. Okay. Yeah, I will, like, hair is not easy, and it takes a while to get the hang of, so 100% don't worry if you're struggling. I hated painting hair more than anything else for the longest time. And as a result, I put a lot of hours into trying to get it so I liked what I was doing, and it took me forever, and in so doing, I ended up finding a style that worked for me to make it slightly more bearable, because I really didn't like painting hair at all. When I was younger. Hated it. So it's all about finding what works for you. So totally use kind of like what I do for my style. It might not work perfectly for you, but maybe on the way you'll find like a way of twiddling it a bit so it works for you. Ooh, excuse me. Okay, let's work on her top. It's basically just a plain leather crop top, like sports bra type thing, to, you know, hold it all in when you're swinging a greatsword. Which isn't actually in this image because she's too busy flexing with her tail to actually remember she has a greatsword. Quietly Frey, thank you so much for hanging out. It was lovely to have you in chat as always. Let's go ahead straight away and start adding some light onto her clothing. And then obviously we're going to blend as we go. But as I mentioned before, I'm not going to worry about it being perfect. I'm just going to put light where I like it and just, you know, try and have fun with it. And then there'd probably be a light on the kind of band coming across here. Thank you so much, Critical Sloth, for the follow. I hope you enjoy the stream. Exactly, she'd probably chucked the greatsword down and been like, I don't need that. My tail does 1d12 damage. Okay, so we've got some light, let's add some dark. Thanks for joining, Gregzilla. Hope you enjoy lunch. And partial Lance, yeah, thank you. I hope that stuff has been, if not informative, enjoyable. Had the shadow of her arm just cutting across there a bit. And then I'm just gonna blend some of this band in here before I grab some proper dark shadows. Not the TV series or the film. And we can use some of this to kind of outline some of the natural seams in the garment. Kind of tidying up as we go. It's like an all-in-one layer type style, so I like to get it right. Okay, what I am going to do, I've realised she's actually got little clasps at the top, so I need to add essentially a bit of skin here. Because we need to paint in these little gold kind of rings that are holding the neck bit in, which I'm actually going to do on the overlines there. And then it's going to grab the highlight for those down here, nice kind of bright metallic gold. There we go. And the rest of it's fairly plain. I'm going to do a little bit of definition just to bring it out, but I'm not going to focus too hard. So we've basically got a buckle here, and there's a buckle at the back, which you couldn't see on the other image. to do is probably just to, you know, carry on working our way down. Let's do her belts and the trousers. Probably the best thing to do. So, new layer. We'll start with the belts. So we'll just grab the same color over here. She's wearing 2 black belts and 1 kind of thin purple one. Oops, getting a bit too messy now. I know this is a loose style, but I don't want to let things go too much. Slightly bigger brush, and then we can just, because this is under our other layers, we can kind of just scribble this in and then tidy up afterwards. Speaking of tidying up, we're going to go back up to the skin layer to basically, as I say, get these lines nice and straight. Like so. The hair also probably needs a little bit of love here, because you can kind of see it's also kind of going over the sides a little bit more than it should. So there we go. Back down to the belt layer, we can quickly add some shadow. So once again, making sure it's locked. Which ones were the black ones? Alright, so that middle one is the purple one. Cool beans. I'm kind of realizing that there is an area here that should be skin. So let's pop that in as well. There we go. But after you do your blocking layer, how do you make it so the marks... it's very, very simple. Basically, you want to make sure that you have this little square that looks like a little grid of like 3x3. You want to make sure that is depressed. That is the alpha channel lock. Lock transparent pixels. It basically means that you can't paint on top of transparent pixels, so the only places that paint is going to go is on the where you've already painted, basically. So yeah, just very simple, make sure that button is pressed down. Also, I'm a total doofus because I didn't paint in the bottom of the belt. Silly me. Yeah, you need to remember that if you want to add more outside of that area, you need to turn it off. It's such a cool tool, seriously. I was so happy when I learned about it. I use it for so much now. There we go. So put it back on again as we shadow. It means you can, yeah, like I say, it's perfect if you want a loose, quick kind of color and you don't want to spend ages painstakingly getting everything inside the lines. Alright, let's grab some highlights now. Which are going to go on the overlines layer, because I like doing highlights on a layer on top of the line art in this style. So usually I treat this like I would if I'm painting my Warhammer models. I do kind of an edge highlight, and then a stripe up the middle creates the idea of glossy leather. Happy Wednesday, Aimless Wanderings! Oof, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a bit of a Wednesday for a lot of people, huh? Wednesday can be super hard. Usually I find my hardest day of the week is Tuesday, because it's like there's still so much of the week to go and I'm so tired from Monday. Tuesday is usually my roughest day. But I know Wednesday is also rough because it's like, just gotta keep going, gotta get past that halfway mark. But you're doing great. Thank you so much to Minimum Joshi for the follow. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Alright, once again with the edge highlighting, just going around the edges of the belt. It only really works for this style. If you did this on like a really realistic style, I think it would look a bit weird. But for quick, more sketchy character design, it's a really good technique. Alright, so there is that black belt with some highlight on. I'm going to do the same to the little thin one. Yeah. Wonderful, and then I'm just going to do the purple belt, which is in the middle. Sorry for the whiplash as I drag you over the canvas rapidly. So I'm going to grab that purple, then adding the lighter areas. Aw, Cyber Spectre, thank you so much! yeah, the nice thing again about the style is it comes together really quickly. It's like when you're knitting and you're using a really chunky wool, so it knits up real quick. Sorry, I've got too many random creative hobbies that I use as analogies for painting techniques, which like a very small portion of people will probably get. Alright, there is her belt. So what I want to do is I want to just add her buckle for her main belt, which is going to be on this layer. For some reason in this sketch I made it the wrong shape. It should be a diamond. Because, you know, diamonds are a criminal girl's best friend. She's actually not that... She's not that bad when it comes to stealing stuff. She's not like your typical rogue. But she does appreciate some good shinies. Which is why it meant a lot to her when she got given this gift by the coat in this image by the paladin. Not only because she had a massive crush on the paladin, but because she's just not used to getting gifts or like items at all. She doesn't have a lot. And then, again, if I was doing this like a proper full portrait, I'd spend a lot more time on the metallic elements, making them look really realistic. But we just want to make sure we've got a suggestion of the shapes so that it's kind of like obvious it is metallic without it needing to be super hyper real. Like that. Good, Ara Ace Bard, excellent. I'm not the only one. I actually mostly crochet, I don't knit that much. Okay, trousers! Moving swiftly on. Grabbing the colour for her trousers. She's got kind of very Witcher styled like leather trousers that have like side lacing as well as normal front lacing. She probably never actually undoes the side lacing and is purely there for effect. Just quickly filling in the area and then drop in a fill, and then we go over these nasty white bits that get left behind. Lovely, and then we're actually going to shade this properly. I'm going to create a clipping mask, switch to multiply, and grab that usual pale purpley pink that I use so often for shading this kind of thing. And we're just going to dunk it right on there. Dunk it on top, and then switch to a white brush, a large brush size, like really large. And then basically just clear away where light's gonna hit, so kind of on the rounded part of her thigh, on this side of her thigh a little bit, and then making sure we are only eyedropping from current layer. We can grab a slightly smaller brush and just kind of blend in that natural kind of gradient area. Oh, trousers are a nightmare, because trousers, the way we think of them, didn't appear until much later. You just don't get them in a medieval setting. It's more hose, which are more like tights. Or if you're going for a more Viking aesthetic, you've got the more kind of baggy, I can't remember the word for them. But they're a different style which has a very square crotch, which kind of look quite bunched up. But you don't really get trousers like this, or like you see in The Witcher. Weren't really a thing in medieval Europe, at least. I've done quite a lot of LARP costume making at this point, and basically had to relinquish to the Robin Hood Men in Tights aesthetic because your boys wear tights, you know? And besides, tights are cool. His shadow's a bit heavy there. So now it's basically a case of just going in, adding shadows, extra shadows, where they need to be. When you have leather trousers, they tend to crease up quite a bit. But yeah, exactly, that's the thing. It just doesn't really exist, doesn't really have a parallel. Which is why it's so hard to design trousers that look good. You can make more puffy trousers look more like conventional trousers by adding like leg wraps and stuff. But if you're going for a fully like a medieval look to things, you can't really trust traditional trousers. I think even some of the stuff they have in Game of Thrones really isn't. If you're going for historical accuracy, it's not it. And even with when I've designed a lot of dresses for characters as well, including my own. And I'm making dresses for LARP, which is again quite different. The kind of differences involved are huge. So, for example, I'm currently kind of constructing. Whoops, what's going on there? I'm constructing a dress for Empire LARP, which is the faction I play is inspired by 14th century England and France. So it's very swishy and flowy. It's very I don't know if you're familiar with BBC's Merlin adaptation that was quite popular like when I was growing up. It's like part of this. It didn't quite make it into the Super Wallet fandom, but it had a massive fan following. But anyway, the dresses from that period don't have the princess seams you often see in modern versions of like medieval dresses. You just don't get that. You just have very shapely panels, which are very hard to construct. And it's just very interesting. I find it interesting. Most of you in chat are probably incredibly bored, but I've done a lot of research into historical costuming recently. And I'm actually going to be, hopefully, maybe not this weekend, hopefully next weekend, uploading my first LARP costume tutorial video where I basically go through the entire process of making my medieval underdress, which is like a simple base starting point for almost all LARP costumes. Trying to mix historical accuracy with accessibility so it's comfortable to wear on the field and easier to make. You don't need super old-fashioned construction methods and stuff. You don't need a super special sewing machine. In fact, you could just hand sew if you wanted to. Maximum authenticity. So I'm very excited to kind of show that to people. I've almost finished the dress itself. You can kind of see the edge of it. It's kind of like behind me over there on my table. I'm at the point where I've just got to do all the hems. And it's really fun though. Like I mentioned on my Twitter earlier, I had a dress from Arm Street, which is a very famous and one of probably the best well-known historical and kind of fantasy medieval clothing, but quite high quality, quite expensive medieval clothing maker who basically can make it to your exact specifications and sizing and stuff. And I would say that the dress I've made, bear in mind this is the first time I've tried constructing a pattern for myself from scratch based on like a medieval pattern, actually fits me just as well as the professionally made one. So I'm very chuffed with that. In fact, in some ways I'd say it fits me slightly better. But that's more because I have a weird body shape. I have super broad, kind of like masculine shoulders, which mean that if I move my arms up and forward, most dresses and tops are like ripping at the back. So that might just be more of a me thing. And that was one of the main reasons I wanted to learn how to make my own medieval patterns, is so I could make a LARP kit for myself rather than buying off the shelf stuff that didn't fit me very well. Because I struggle to find women's clothing that fits me comfortably. Same with like shirts and stuff. A lot of my clothing is technically men's clothing because I find it more comfortable. Anyway, after all that rambling, we have actually finished painting the trousers. So that's great, go us. So what I want to do next is add a wee bit more detail into her tail. As it's coming around and across, because I think it's going to have more shadow on it than it currently has. So I'm just going to grab shadow color. Yes, the blue dress, that's the one I got from Arm Street, and it is very cute, very, very pretty. I'm very excited for LARP season to start up again, because I miss it so. It's been too long. Okay, a bit darker there, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add some more shadows, because this is behind her at the end of the day. It is in shadow. Even the hand is kind of casting a shadow here. Yeah, lace-up trousers are cool. And when it comes to D&D, screw historical accuracy. It's a game with dragons and crazy shit happening all the time. I do not play play Dungeons and Dragons for historical accuracy in any way. Alright, let's add some highlights to the tail. Originally I was like, oh, maybe I want her tail to be cold and white and bony, but I actually prefer it being a darker blue. And then maybe having a kind of a paler element right at the tip where that bony, almost like stinger is. It is pokey. Okay, so let's do some highlights. So, grab a slightly lighter color there. And again, this isn't going to be full hyper real paint style. I'm going to be keeping these fairly relaxed. But being on top of the line art means I can start kind of working over some of those messy bits a little. Hey, thank you so much to, oh gosh, Patasprs. I don't think I said that right, but thank you anyway for the follow. Hey, that's alright. Most people don't, you know, you can just hang out and lurk. It's what I tend to do with streams. I don't always message. Yeah, you can see that just even a simple bit of highlighting on this layer can just bring out the shapes better, make everything a bit clearer. And then, of course, we have the stinger. Oh, actually, what if we started making it a bit more purpley? Like the way her hair goes. That could be fun. So let's go back down to that layer. Huh, that's a really cool little bit of information. So I'm gonna grab a very dark, kind of purple burgundy like her hair. Grab that, a large brush, much larger in fact, and it almost looks a bit like a poisonous plant at this point. We're just gonna go on there, take a lighter version, whoops, make sure this is locked first. Ah, fantastic, yeah, I like this. I like the poisonous plant vibes, especially because I grow a lot of plants. Keeping plants is like a hobby. Yes, now this works for me. Yeah, and again, a lot of these, I have actually never painted the colour version of her tail before, so this is me making it up on the fly. But yeah, I like it. I like what I've made up on the fly. One of the last things I'm going to do is, here is the line art layer. You see it? No, you don't. I'm actually going to colour it in. I'm going to grab a sort of medium pink. Actually, let's say first, just in case using a big brush decides to melt my computer. Because coloured line art looks a bit richer. And I like it. Then I'm just going to start playing around with some background ideas, because as I mentioned earlier, this piece is actually going to be part of a mini kind of like comic panel type thing that I want to do. Which means that it's going to be a bit interesting. Like I said earlier, so it matches the dark aesthetic, we are going to put some adjustment layers on what we've just done. So, if we're going for the dark moonlit streets, we'll grab a bluish purple to start with. And start by essentially messing with the colours. And again, this is how I often work out this sort of thing. Do I want that darker? Do I want that lighter? It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. So we can do something like that, which is fun. And then if we wanted to kind of mess around with this some more, we could, for example, if we wanted to have like a lamplight kind of illuminating the side or backlight of her. Nope, I want to go to a white. We can, God, my throat. We can take away some of those shadows. Photoshop is starting to get slow now. I knew it. Add some moonlight. Just lighting up the features on one side. And playing with lighting like this is a lot of fun. I don't do it as often as I should. Lighting is such an important skill. Often my characters are lit very boringly, so it's fun to play with lighting a bit more. And then you get a little bit of lighting on the shoulder, some on the belt. And then it really depends how far you want to go with it. If she could be completely backlit, where we do the same thing on this side as well. And then we could start adding light to the edges of her hair too. There's a lot of things you can kind of do to have fun with. Oh, thank you so much, Hetty Joe. That's so fun. Thank you so much. Then you can use a bigger brush if you want to just highlight like larger, softer elements with a more kind of diffused light. And thank you so much to Purple Zebra and Fabio the Almighty for following. For example, especially if you've got shiny clothing such as leather trousers, you'll be wanting to add a bit of highlight onto that sort of thing if you've got lights in a shot. One thing I do want to do is I want to light the tail, because the tail is kind of the focal point of the whole image. In fact, what you can do, which is fun, is you can introduce quite a lot of light to the bits of the tail that are outside the kind of the box, which is fun. Again, a little bit more room lighting there. But yeah, you can basically just add loads of elements. You can add some buildings kind of going by. For example, I could add like a row of roofs kind of going like that, going edge of a house coming down here. I don't really want to though, because I don't really like that. I think it bothers the composition too much. Or if we want to try to explain where this moonlight effect is coming from, we can add like a distant silvery moon kind of in the corner of the shot there, and that gives us a really nice grounds for adding the rim light to the tail. So what I could do with that is grab this kind of silvery blue color, and on a new layer we basically just really make the tail stand out. And this kind of effect is really cool if you want to draw attention to something specific in like a comic panel. Thank you so much to Relix Nodorex for the follow. It needs to be a little bit softer here, it's a bit harsh. We want the main highlight to be like on the plates. We don't need the little spines. But yeah, you can kind of do that sort of thing to bring out elements. I think because of where the moon is, we'd want to bring it also onto these top bits. Oh, any advice for painting magical effects? I could definitely kind of show an example of a magical effect actually before I head off. So let's say we wanted to add some fire. Let's say we wanted to add some brightly colored flames. Like fire kind of magical, like a magic burst effect is something quite common that comes up. I'd start with a very saturated color, and this is again just how I do it. I did something like this last night on a piece I'm working on. Start with a rough blob. Then kind of work out where your fire's going or your magic is kind of burning off. It's going up here. Then what I will do is I will switch to the eraser tool, fairly big brush, and I will eat away at the sides. Very small, sharp movements, just erasing parts of what I just drew. And this helps you get a much more natural random shape for the flames or the magic that you're painting. So yeah, that's again very rough. And you want to make sure some bits are completely rubbed out and some bits are only kind of partially rubbed out. But there you go, there's kind of like a rough magical healing flame or something else, whatever you want it to be really. Then what I will often do, for example, is I will duplicate, actually no, not yet. I'll make sure that alpha is locked. I will go grab a lighter color, stick that in the center middle, sorta, and then I'll blur it. So we have like a natural kind of progression, almost. And if you kind of see what this looks like over here. Let's say there is a fire right here. It's like a ghost fire. This makes it a bit easier to see which bits you still gotta kind of erase to get that nice natural feel. Anyway, very, very rough this. Then you want to duplicate it. Set that to maybe overlay. It depends what you're doing. Sometimes I'll use hard light instead. Then you want to blur that to give it like a surrounding blur. Sometimes you'll want to instead use hard light or vivid light. I quite like linear light. It's one of my faves. To kind of give some light onto surfaces around it. And that's kind of like a very quick and rudimentary kind of like magical flame idea. Yeah, so anyway, I just realized what the time is. I need to get something to eat because I'm playing D&D in Check's Imaginary Watch less than an hour. So thank you so much everyone for joining me. I'm going to drop some links in chat. First of all is Twitter. If you found the stream through Twitch today, please check out my Twitter. It's where I post about when I'm streaming, giveaways that I might be doing, finished artwork, all sorts of things kind of on my Twitter, so do check that out. Next up, Instagram. If you're more into Instagram than Twitter, please give that a little follow. I upload all my art onto there as well as houseplant stuff. I'm an avid plant collector now, apparently. Costume making for LARP. I also do a lot about LARPing. Other stuff like miniature painting. I haven't done it for a while, but I also add that on there as well. Next up, ArtStation is great if you just want to see my main portfolio. ArtStation is where that's all together, really. Not much more to say about it than that. YouTube, if you missed the start of the stream, or you want to watch some of my previous streams, some of my other work, please follow me on my YouTube channel, where I upload all my VODs, as well as a few other series. And like I mentioned earlier, a new series I'm about to start on making your own LARP costumes from scratch. Cool. Next up, if you've enjoyed the music in today's stream, it's all by a wonderful artist named Kai Engel. I really recommend you check out their work. It's royalty-free, great ambient stuff for streaming, D&D games, anything really. It's just good stuff. It's good fun. Anything else? What did I miss out? Ah, yes. If you'd like to throw a bit more support my way, Patreon is one of the best ways to do it. I am, like I mentioned, planning to open commissions at the end of this month. There aren't going to be many slots, and they usually go very fast, so the best way to guarantee yourself a slot is if you're on Patreon. You can basically get commission priority It's quite a neat feature. There's other stuff on there too. There's exclusive artwork, works in progress. I've done a couple of step-by-step tutorials as well. I want to add some more soon. But yeah, that's basically the Patreon. So, with that being said, I will be streaming again on Friday, same time. I usually start at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, British time, UK time, whatever you want to call it. Oh, Cheese Bruceys, thank you so much. Very kind. But yes, I'll be back on Friday at the same time today, and yeah, hopefully I'll see some of you there. And until then, stay safe, look after yourselves, and have a great week. I'll be back soon. Bye!